Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law, he is Bill Bender, senior writer for the Sporting News. Follow him on Twitter at BillBender92 as we stream live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio across the beautiful state. Green Bay and Appleton, 99.7 FM, WNFL. In Wausau, 93.9 The Game, 710 The Game in Duluth, Superior, and of course in Milwaukee on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan there. Bill Bender, how in the world are you?
I have questions about the milkshake, but I know we have other things to talk about.
No,
so
fine. It's fine. No, I got a blender. I got a bunch of vanilla ice cream. I scooped up vanilla ice cream, probably like half of a container. Scooped it all in. Me and the 9-year-old, he helped scoop. We put all the ice cream in, so it was pretty much filled up. And then I got a big container of Fairlife chocolate milk that I bought because I think that's the best chocolate milk. It's way overpriced, but it's good for a one-time thing. So I got the big container. I dumped the whole container of the chocolate milk in. And essentially what happened was it became just cold chocolate milk because of the ice cream essentially got blended up into it. There was a couple of chunks of ice cream, but it was a complete failure, Bill.
It happens. A trial and error. I can't say I haven't done the same with my kids over the years with our blender as well, but you perfected over time.
Yeah, I used to be able to do it well like 10 years ago with the other two kids, and I apparently forgot how to do it in 10 years. But either way, Bill, I want to start off talking about the Badgers' college football openings before we get to the college football first playoff teams that they put out last night. This Badger job, compared to some of these other openings that are going to be out there, right? You got high-end openings like LSU and Auburn's open now and a bunch of other teams where you can look at them and really justify in your mind of, okay, they've been to the mountaintop before, so we know they can get there. So that appears to be a really good job. The Badgers, two things. One, are still holding on to Luke Fickell, even though this thing is headed into the toilet, worse now than ever before. And number two, even if it was open, I'm not sure where it would even rank amongst all these job openings at this point because it's went so far south over 3 years.
Well, Wisconsin used to be during the Paul Chryst era. I used to look at them as the best program that had not made the playoff, and that distinction goes to, at least for the next 3 weeks, Ole Miss. Now I think Lane Kiffin's been able to do that there. So where does it rank among the openings that you have now? It's probably in that Auburn range, where Auburn is a good program in theory. They've played for national titles and won a national title in 2010, but they've also had 5 straight losing seasons. So whoever goes there inherits that after Brian Harsin and Hugh Freeze. So to me, Wisconsin is a middle-class Big Ten job, very comparable to the other programs in the region, quite frankly. It's
Iowa, Minnesota, and those guys.
And they're the ones in this new look 18-team Big Ten that are still trying to find their way. Like, we can talk ourselves into Iowa as a playoff contender right now, but they still got to go through Oregon and USC the next 2 weeks. We'll see where that conversation is next Sunday.
Yeah. And see, from our perspective, I feel like there is absolutely no hope right now based on this Wisconsin program because, they're saying, oh, yeah, we're going to have all this extra money to spend next year when it comes to portal and NIL and so forth. And obviously the fan reaction, Bill, is, well, then why in the world didn't you spend it this year? If you have this whole stash of money, why are you been sitting on it this whole time and not spending it to begin with? So I think there's some skepticism of if they have this money, but even if they have the money, like, can you really expect them to compete with the Ohio States of the world regardless?
Well, and I like the narrative that the talent has dispersed and everything. And that's true, I think, in the SEC, where you have multiple playoff contenders, and Alabama and Georgia are no longer like the juggernaut that they were 5 years ago, where I remember watching Georgia in 2021 and saying to my son, hey, don't worry about it. They're not losing this year. That team's not losing. I don't feel like that about anybody in the SEC. I kind of feel like that about Ohio State right now, where I'm like, okay, where does anybody else in the Big Ten get a receiver? Because Ohio State has all of them. And I think that's the hard part. So what are you shooting to be? Are you shooting to be a Big Ten champion? Are you shooting to be an every year playoff contender? Because I think it places.
Yes, I think the every year playoff contender, I think, is what they talked about when they got here. Now, they talked about national championships too, but with an expanded playoff format, yeah, I think that's realistic for this program to say, yeah, you should be somewhere between 12 and 15 to 20 every year.
For sure. And I agree with that. I mean, you look at Washington being 6-2, and their only losses are 17-point losses to Ohio State and Michigan. That's not bad. You never want to
Right.
say, well, but that's not a bad look. And I'm not making excuses for Wisconsin here, but when you look at their schedule, and we all did it in July, we're like, where's the win in October?
Correct.
You know, it was a brutal schedule. Now, made more brutal by the fact that the offense couldn't score. But yeah, that's an absolutely brutal schedule. And this is the problem with 18-team leagues, is you're going to have chronically unbalanced schedules.
And that's exactly what they have. Now, the next 2 years, a lot easier. No Oregon, no Ohio State. So things become a lot more easier for the Badgers going forward if they can put a respectable team out there. Talking with Bill Bender of the Sporting News, senior writer over there. Follow him on Twitter at BillBender92. Joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Let's talk about the teams that came out that appear to be in position right now, according to this panel of people, to be playoff teams coming up. The first one I want to talk about is Alabama, because people wanted Kalen DeBoer fired at the beginning of the year. And now you fast forward to where we are in November, and what? They're a top 4, top 5 team right now.
Well, not a couple things, too. Their quarterback has 20 touchdown passes and 1 interception. Ty Simpson's been brilliant. They beat 4 straight ranked opponents of the top 25 teams last night. Alabama's the only one. And I believe in this stat. I've had a lot of debates about this stat today. I am a fan of ranked at the time. People can say, well, Penn State's lost 5 straight games. Well, I was there when Oregon beat them in double overtime. That was a far different product than what Penn State has now. Alabama's beat 4 straight ranked teams that are still in that top 25. So, and to me, they look like the best team in the SEC anyway. So if they would have had them over Texas A&M, for example, I probably wouldn't have pitched a fit.
We talk about some of the teams that might have some discussion. Notre Dame is always a polarizing one, right? People love Notre Dame or people hate Notre Dame. And I've seen some discussion about Notre Dame possibly being too high in this thing. How do you view Notre Dame and where they are?
I wrote about that last night. I'm okay with them being ranked ahead of Miami. And that's the only head-to-head where I felt that way, because Miami coming off the SMU loss, look at where those teams have tracked the last 6 weeks.
Yep.
Notre Dame's won 6 straight games by double digits. Their running game's dominant. Their defense has gotten better. I think CJ Carr's playing better than Carson Beck right now. I mean, nobody can dispute that. So if they get to 10-2 and bump somebody out, I'm fine. But it is going to raise the question of, is Notre Dame gaming this system? Which they kind of are, if we're being honest, not playing in a conference, not being subject to the unbalanced schedules. But I'm okay with this individual Notre Dame team and where they're playing right now.
Group of 5, as of now, it's Memphis. Is there legitimate competition for Memphis for that last spot?
Yeah. I mean, whether it's I know they're going to play Navy. South Florida, they did beat. That American Conference has 3 or 4 teams in the mix, but Memphis definitely would be that team right now. Sleeper team out west. Look at San Diego State's defense. They've only lost 1 game. They've played well in the Mountain West Conference. They've been quite a turnaround story. And of all those group of 5 teams that are in the mix, they have the best uniforms. So that's my case for the Aztecs.
I've got about 90 seconds left, but I got to ask you, Tommy Wirtz, who is another host on this station, said I need you to ask him one question. Which is the better job right now to be a head coach at? Badger football or Stanford football?
I would still coach at Wisconsin. You're still in the Big Ten, the high profile, the games, the spots. And we've seen Wisconsin, when they're competitive and in the mix, it's as good as an environment as any. I do like Andrew Luck at Stanford, but I mean, if you're telling somebody to go to Stanford, you're telling them to fly across the country 4 times a year to North Carolina. I don't know if I'd want to do that. I'd rather play at Wisconsin and have those traditional Big Ten rivalries. But of course, as you know, I'm in Central Ohio, so of course I'm going to say that.
Either way, I like it very much. Bill Bender, thank you so much for coming on. Sporting News senior writer on Twitter at BillBender92. Next time we'll talk some Packers. Thank you, Bill.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. He joins us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all.